Oh,
Good morning. Or I don't know if it's morning where you are, but it's really good to see you, Johnny.
it is. It's 9:17. Let me just turn my Bluetooth on. Let me know if this whirring of my heater is annoying. Can you hear me?
I can hear you great. Yeah, and I don't think I hear a heater.
Nice.
How- How's
Apologies.
how's how's audio on my side?
It's good. It's very good.
Great, great. All right. Well, it's been a few weeks or maybe more than a month now.
I know. I apologize for ghosting you for a little bit. I got hit with this long COVID episode. I don't know if I've told you. Um, and it just destroyed me it just put me out of commission for a couple weeks. It was not fun, but
Yeah,
I'm feeling better now.
good. Yeah, you look pretty well rested. Are
Thanks.
you feeling?
I'm feeling a lot better. Confluence of things. I'm taking like a cocktail of supplements and whatnot. I'm in Austin right now, and this is maybe my most comfortable house. So like for a bit I was at my mom's house because of family stuff, and that's just not super comfortable. Um, and London's loud. There's like this train that drives past that's from 6 in the morning until midnight every 2 minutes. Yeah. And like that stuff affects you, man, especially when you're like if you're coming in and out and you don't get used to it. Every time I get there, the first couple of nights I'm woken up like and it's like, oh, it's just the train.
Yeah,
Um but Austin is quiet, even though I live downtown. This apartment complex I'm in is so quiet and I sleep like a baby. So that's been helping.
nice. Yeah, I got the first good night's sleep in well over a week last night for me. So this is really, I guess we should establish right away how much time you got to play this morning. Um, do you have a
I
constraint?
I have I have an hour. It's not a super hard. Let me see if it's a hard constraint because I have to run an errand after this. I can go to the hour and then maybe a little bit later. How about you?
Okay. Uh, yeah, I can go 70 minutes right now before my next checkpoint, which I can blow through it if I need to. So if we really get into something juicy, I can keep going. So I'm
Sounds
just
good.
gonna set a just to keep me uh on track here. I'm gonna set a timer and put it in front of me because I tend
Nice.
to you're getting me in prime time right now.
I
Like
appreciate
I
that.
like I'm swimming into the day. So
Yeah,
and I tend to really get excited and I tend to really receive a lot of inspiration
cool.
in these hours of the day. Um, so yeah, I'm really excited to do this with you, but I also do have to really be mindful of the clock because otherwise I tend to just go way off.
Yeah.
Um,
I'm a big timekeeper. I've been doing because my whole career, especially when I had my own business 10 years ago, my business partner was very verbose. And so I was always the one keeping an eye on the time and making sure that we got to all the things on our to-do list before the client was like, "Oh shit, we have to hop off the phone," and we didn't get anything done. And then before
yeah,
that, I was a moderator for focus groups. And like, in a focus group, you have an hour or an hour and a half with the individual, and the client is sitting behind a two-way mirror right behind you. And they paid a ton of money to be there. They all flew. They all, everyone took the day off or the day out of the office to come to the focus group, and they're expecting to get answers to very specific questions. And a lot of times those answers don't come until like towards the end because you spend the first 30 minutes just like establishing rapport, getting everyone chatty, getting everyone nice and comfortable. And so I'm really good, or I had to learn to be really good at like having a script in front of me of like, all right, I have to get through all of this in an hour and a half, but also I can't end early because then the client feels like they're like, what the hell? We paid for an hour and a half and you did it in 45 minutes. And so
Yeah.
I'm really good at being like, okay, this exercise needs to take 10 minutes. And then knowing when 5 minutes is like being able to feel in my chest when 5 minutes has passed. So I know we should be halfway through the exercise. And then after that, start wrapping it up so that right at the 10-minute mark, I'm like, this is great, guys. Now I want to turn your attention over here. Let's take what we just did and and I did that for like 4 years, and it was such a good training exercise of like being able to be present, but at the same time be cognizant of the list that's like right here on my right and the time that's right here on my left, and like doing three things at once, like getting eight people to cry about laundry. And then making sure I ask them the right questions and making sure that it happens at the right time. It's like it was a wild, wild learning experience.
Oh, I love that so much. So there's so many things I want to say right away about that. The one thing that I want to really anchor on right away though is I loved how you talked about um, I think you said feeling in my chest when 5 minutes is up. Uh, but before I do that, since we're playing with time, tell me the temporal frame, like how many years or how many months did you do that type of work for?
So formally, I did that type of work for 4 years.
Holy
And
moly.
then, yeah, and I loved it. It was like such a good, it was my first job out of college. And it taught me so much. And it got me really good at interviewing people.
Yeah.
Because my job, have I told you this story, like why I quit?
I don't think you told me that. No.
My job was to get people to cry, and I loved it and I hated it for two very specific reasons. We did focus groups, but I've been in more living rooms around America than I could ever count, because the more impactful research is when you actually drive around the country. So
Yeah.
they sent me to Michigan, they sent me to California, they sent me to Florida. And what you do is you just show up to someone's house and you're like, "Hi, I'm here. You expected me. I have a $150 gift card for you that I'll give you at the end." And then it's like, let's go do laundry, right? Because like Unilever would hire us, and they'd be like, "Yeah, I was told to not do laundry until you can." I'm like, yeah, 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 let's go do laundry. And I'm like, "Oh, what buttons are you pushing? Oh, why do you do this setting? Why do you do that setting? Like, do you separate the whites and the darks?" Um, and they're just like, they start getting really comfortable. And then we sit down on the couch, and I'm like, "Talk to me about laundry." And they're like, "Oh,
Yeah.
it's laundry, or whatever." And you're like, "Oh yeah, that sounds hard." And like, "What's that like?" And then before I know it, they're bawling their eyes out, being like, "It never ends. There's always more, and nobody appreciates me because like like they just think it happens, and then the kids come and they do, and my husband has no idea." And I'm like, "Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm," and then that's what we would use for advertisements, right? It's like if you ever watch an advertisement and you feel like, wow, that advertisement gets me, it's because
Yeah.
someone like me made someone like you cry, being like, yeah, 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 tell me about that. Tell me about it. And I loved it because I got to really empathize with them. Like I think I was good at it because I was super empathetic to what we were talking about. But I ended up quitting because I was so fucking tired of making people cry so that Oreo could sell more cookies. You know, like that was soul sucking. I was like, I want to do this for good reasons, not so that I can sell dick pills. And so that's why I went into politics.
Oh, nice. So I wanna, you've been playing with the crew here and you've been playing in the dialogical stuff. And you're probably getting a sense of that game and the dialogos.
Hmm.
So three things now that I want to pick up on. So you kind of got to the culmination of the feeling, maybe the feeling in the chest. So I really want to hone in on the sensation in the body and to I, um it's difficult for me to do right now to bring to mind a moment where someone, well, what I want to do is empathize and say, okay, this is what it's like for me. So I can so I'm not just picking on you, so to speak, to draw it out, but I'm taking a moment now, I hope, in service to really establishing like a powerful emotional resonance that as you and I proceed over the course of the next 50 some minutes or so, starts to draw in what I would call like the dialogos when you talked about the two-way mirror. So there's
Hmm.
a greater aspect of you and me and everybody
Hmm.
else that is watching this right now
Hmm.
through the mirror that is like our perceptual processes, our respective individual perceptual processes. And then we're also recording this. So it just sets up this huge um, opportunity that I don't really have clear terms for. Like I'm not very good at
Yeah.
articulating it yet.
Are we recording this?
Yeah, it better be. Is that,
It does not say recording on my end.
yeah, it does on mine.
Oh, good. Okay, cool. As long as it's recording on your end.
Yeah, you're scaring me too. So I should double check that. So I'm pretty sure in one of the earlier sessions that I told you that I just do that as default. So if
Yeah, yeah,
there's
yeah. And
things that you're not,
I
yeah,
expected that. The only reason why I brought it up is I noticed when I logged in, it didn't give me. I don't consciously remember clicking the "You're being recorded." Yes, that's fine,
yeah,
but I may have just done it subconsciously. But yeah, as long as
okay,
it looks like it's recording on your end, we're good.
yeah, I think it's fine. So the sensations in the body are super important to what you and I are doing right now and always, I believe. Two words I want that really I keyed in on in the story that you told were you said script. So working off of a script, and that's I want to see if we can find um a way of working off of, I don't know whether to call it an outline
Hmm.
or how maybe you already have words for this and framing for this that I'm just not schooled in, so to speak. But there's a tension between bringing enough intention into the dialogue,
Hmm.
into the
Hmm.
process of exploration, and not enough.
Hmm.
So
Yeah, so I mean, obviously, agenda, not a word that's new to you, but it feels like maybe we can set a little bit of an agenda, and
yeah,
in order to keep it loose but tight, maybe it's like two, three questions that we want to touch on before our 55 minutes or 50 minutes is up.
perfect. So then um, I also really keyed in on the word made cry. Um, I would say that you invited people into a
Absolutely. Yeah.
space in which they could cry.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So with that, the so then one, maybe two, no more than three questions for agenda.
Yeah.
Or so if you've got three to offer, go for it.
I have one, and then maybe you see if there's one bubbling up for you. So one would be just like a general update, or the question would be phrased as like, so Johnny, what have you been up to in the EMP world in the last month since we last spoke? I think that's an important question to have answered. Um,
Okay.
uh, do you have any bubbling up?
Um, I have way more than three. So let me just pause and see what comes forth here.
And we can do more than three. You can hit me with the ones that feel most salient.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to. I'm almost invariably going to ask a bunch on things that are going to seem tangential to the core, but I'm really asking for guidance here on what is core. So there's two, and I talked to Kyle briefly about them couple nights ago uh, that are not. It isn't really clear to me why they seem as important as they do to me right now.
Hmm.
Because in the big
Yeah.
scheme, they seem like relatively small issues, but they're not going away.
Hmm.
So the two questions have to do with. Um, Let me see if I can formulate. Uh, I'm going to do it this way. I'm going to use language from a different, like a not an EMP domain, and I'm going to say
Hmm.
I'm curious as to what you consider the 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 critical currencies
Hmm.
of the we'll say the EMP um, community of practice writ large.
Hmm.
So what do you I'm curious to know what you see as the critical currencies of the EMP community of practice writ large.
Hmm.
So that's one question. And then the other question has to do with the um I would call it a CRM package or the software package. I know that Kyle's been doing a lot with it, and I'm curious to know. So there's a little bit of backstory here that I don't know how much of it is okay to share and talk about. Um, I don't know how much. I shouldn't say that. I should say I don't know how much of it is wise
Hmm.
to bring to foreground. I'm really just interested in your perspective on that aspect of the whole scene here. So two things,
Hmm.
critical currencies, and then you can say maybe IT infrastructure or CRM or whatever framing
hmm.
makes sense to you.
Hmm. Hmm. Cool.
So the general update. So Johnny, what have you been up to in the EMP world for the last 30, 40 days?
Yeah, so exciting stuff. I feel like I have a much stronger grasp on the landscape than I did the last two times we spoke. And
Okay.
so good news, bad news. The bad news is that and this ties into the IT infrastructure. There's a little bit of a spaghetti mess that needs to be untangled. Um, Luke built a really, really great platform called Course IQ. And
Yeah.
that platform has a tremendous amount of power and information inside of it. And we are currently, especially Kyle, is currently in the process of upskilling so that we can extract and utilize that platform to the best of its ability.
Nice.
Um, that is the bad news and also the good news. The good news is that there is a tremendous amount col of capital in this platform that can be used and will be used for EMP writ large. Uh, what that means for the larger ecosystem is that at the moment I'm working with Rafe, Aaron, and Kyle, and going to basically EMP is in a transition phase, which I think we all know, but the transition phase is a lot more defined now. I'm going to spend the first quarter of next year um, trying to reimagine how EMP um, operates. That's not helpful. To be more specific, we are we're getting more intentional on funnels. So some people are going to start with the top of the funnel and work their way down. And then others are going to start with the bottom of the funnel and then slowly see because the biggest problem with our community and not a problem. The biggest like hurdle of our community is that in order to do things the quote unquote like traditional way, it feels very disingenuous, right? Nobody nobody wants to buy my PDF and then do my 6 week course and then sign out. No one wants like Facebook ads. Like some people are very excited about running things like that, and then other people um are very just like turned off by that idea. And I
Yeah.
get it because it's very antithetical to kind of like this space. So we're trying to find this like Goldilocks zone of effectiveness, but also authenticity. And I'm very confident that we're going to find that. Um, and so then what does that mean for the EMP community writ large? It means that there are three A players in our space kind of testing out three different ways of
Mm.
doing things. And then those three ways of doing things will then, once we have enough data, will be communicated out. And we're gonna, we'll once we clean up the house, then we can move on to the yard, maybe go to the street, maybe go to the town, right? So like the house right now is being tidied up. Um, but that will serve the ecosystem like concentric rings around it. And so the currency that is most uh, salient and important for the larger EMP community, I would say is energy, right? So I'm always happy to get on the phone with people, um, always happy to talk about things, but we definitely need uh, at the moment, the most valuable thing it would be people who have time and energy to devote to this. And so, like, what would that look like, right? It's like so we have these apprentices, which are the ones who watch this video mostly. Um, they have been trained under the school of Rafe, um, and everyone has like a different idea of what they want to do with that certification that they've acquired. And step one would be to kind of come up with a really good idea of what you want to do with it. So like I might want to just take everything I learned and be super Buddhist about it and just be like, I am now better than I was last year, and I'm going to take this with me everywhere I go. But if people have very specific things they want to do with it, like I welcome the idea of helping them kind of flesh that out. Like I know that Julio in Germany, like they're running a retreat. It's going to be in the
Yeah.
summer, right? It's like they're ready to go. I'm excited to see their website, and then once their website is live, then we can open up Course IQ and say, hey, what can we offer here to um, kind of expand the amount of people that you can speak to, right? And try and get to set up for the retreat. Like that's like that is it, right? It's like they're building the website. When that's done, then I can give them things to help people go to the website.
Yeah.
And so for other people, it's like until these experiments are done, like if you want to be told what to do, then you might have to wait a little bit while we run these experiments. But
Right.
if you know what you want to do and you want just advice on how to do it or how to do it appropriately, then I'm very happy to get on the phone and like help with that. Um, but like,
Uh,
yeah, the currency is hands at the moment. It's like if you have we need people who have time to who can put a couple hours a week into and not even helping Aaron, Kyle, Rafe, just
yeah.
a couple hours a week to devote into, okay, well, if this is what's in my head, how do I turn that into something that is actually exists? And the cool thing is like, if you're watching this and you're like, well, fuck, I don't have 2 hours a week, or I
Yeah.
don't have uh that, then it's like, well, there are a bunch of us, depending on if it's digital or if it's going to be something that you do, um, maybe in a location where people can meet up, people can buddy up and be like, all right, I don't have time to post on social media, so is there someone in the apprenticeship program that like does have time for that? And then maybe someone else is like, I really like making curriculums, and it's like, great. The two of you should come together.
Yeah.
One of you can like really spend time making curriculums. One of you can do the getting the word out.
Yeah.
Um, and that would be great. But if nobody wants to do that, then waiting for these experiments to end so that we see what like how things go, then then it'll be a lot easier to be like, oh, okay, we have these two things. One of them goes this way, the one of them works like this, the other one works like that. Um, and if you want to learn from it, then we can. And if you want to implement it yourself, we have a bunch of stuff that we can give you. Um, like one small example is like, that like if going thinking about the funnel, it's like if you want to start at the bottom of the funnel, which is my favorite place to start, then it involves a lot of like making lists of people, going to events, and really doing like one-on-one, which can be really uncomfortable for some people, right? It's like, but I don't want to like sell people all the time. It's like, all right, well, this is not for you then, right? This part of the funnel is, you know, like creating and nurturing a network. This one over here, this is like Facebook ads. And not everybody has to do Facebook ads, but like as a shorthand. Like up here, this is like getting the word out in a more, top of funnel, reaching tens of thousands of people and getting 4 clicks type of thing.
Yeah.
If you want to play up here, then that involves posting on social media, on a certain cadence. And it also what we can do is if you have the budget, it's like you could run ads, and we can use the email addresses we have in Course IQ to create Facebook audiences. And so we can basically, you're not starting from square zero, right? Like we can grab a bunch of Facebook audiences, we can turn them into we can grab a bunch of our email addresses, turn them into Facebook audiences, and then that means that when you run your ads, Facebook already knows, all right, these are the types of people I should be reaching out to because it's creepy. They have all this data on us. So so that's my answer. It's like those are your two options. Um, and if you don't like either one of those options, I welcome a third, but like those are the most fruitful places to start. You either have to create a network or have a network and learn how to traverse that network in a way that's authentic to you, without you feeling like you're, you know, Mr. or Mrs. Salesperson, or posting on social media and potentially doing ads if you think that that's, something that you want to put some time and money into. Um, and I'm happy to help people kind of think through that. But yeah, once the experiment that we're running in Q1 kind of comes to fruition, we'll have more though. We'll have things that worked. We'll have ideas that we'll have like paths that we know either led to a dead end, or paths that was like this would have worked if we did this one thing differently. And then we have paths that are like, all right, this one really worked. Um, how do we bring that to the larger EMP community? And then what's the what's it called? What's the ask there? Like how does this become give and take? And like community oriented. Like how does pulling from the commons of this rich data, how do we make sure that like everyone is respecting the commons um and not, you know, uh not sending all their sheep to eat it dry.
Yeah. That's well, thank you for sharing all that. That's beautiful. It all makes sense to me. The one thing that's really coming up pretty powerfully for me right now is um, this is going to sound crass, but I'm just going to say it. The quality control on the actual live events. So right,
Mm-hmm.
my observation is that there have, Rafe and Kyle and Aaron together, with others in the background immediately behind them, they've managed to hold an exquisite tension. Like it's really quite remarkable. The tension, um, I'm trying to find the right metaphor or right words to describe it, but I'm gonna do a few sound bites from memory and hope and pray that they land appropriately. But if I go personality style and I just say, okay, what I see in Rafe is like many things, but there's definitely like top level pursuit of excellence approach. And then not it's a triune system, so it's not exactly opposite, but in the balance that Aaron brings there in particular, which is like what I've heard him say is this is not a business. This is a movement. And we're not trying to pursue any particular thing. It's super like, I don't know what to call it, Taoist. Like I'm making a fool of myself because I'm trying to apply words to just really powerful embodied demonstrations of what I'm talking
Mm-hmm.
about. And then I got Kyle over here who is in many ways holding those two approaches in a
Mm-hmm.
really deeply deep he's going to love this, deeply connected way, because he's basically gone into the world across cultures
Mm-hmm.
and really tried to bring the best of the best, is kind of how I see it, from play-based cultures all over the world, like,
Mm-hmm.
and across time, like all time. He's just
Mm-hmm.
like, and he's got that kind of super, he's got that killer instinct of a hunter, which is when it comes to, hey, there is a business aspect to this. He's just like he can do that. Exactly. I've watched him execute on that, and then I've also watched him completely, uh, like release into the void, basically. So those and that when you talked about, I don't want to be the salesperson down here in the in person and basically trying to bring people in. For me, that's not an issue. For some people, that's not going to be an issue if they've experienced the quality of the experiences that have been thus far largely facilitated by Rafe Kelly, Kyle Koch, and Aaron Cantor. So then that
Mm-hmm.
brings me back to the quality control. So I don't
Mm-hmm.
personally like, I if faith in that in-person experience becomes diluted, I'm not interested anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so that's a bunch of words that maybe don't matter at all for right now, but I am
Yeah, what does
really
that look
super
like to
curious.
you?
What's that?
Like you have my permission to you have your permission to make up a scenario that'll never happen. But like what what does losing faith in that in person look like? So I know what the can I call it a fear looks like.
Yeah, I think fear is well, is it fear?
We're gonna use imperfect words. Um
What it looks
concern.
like is I don't have the names of them off of the top of my head. I typically don't. I'm trying to think of an actual experience. Um,
Yeah, go to worst case scenario. Like this way, make it a caricature so it doesn't
Yeah.
feel like it has to be grounded in reality. It doesn't feel like it's necessarily about any one individual. But like, yeah, go nuclear for a second, um, and paint a caricature of what worst case scenario looks like.
Worst case scenario looks like a franchised yoga system.
Yes. Yeah. Okay, cool. We're on the same page. Yeah, and as of right now, just to kind of touch on that, like as of right now, there's no talk about rubricking what, and like we have the opposite problem, right? So it's less about like, okay, great, you're an EMP apprentice. If you want to do something that's EMP branded, it must look like this. It must start on a Wednesday before the full moon. It must, you must cover these six pillars. Here's your binder. Like there's absolutely no conversation happening about that. Um, in some ways, my biggest fear is potentially the opposite because, okay, so to give you my worst case scenario, it is, I'm going to use you as an example. Is that okay?
Yeah, I'd love it.
Okay. Um, Cam, Cam decides that he wants to run a weekend retreat. He gets four people to go into the woods with him, and somebody breaks their leg, and the other three people go on the internet and talk about how he was unprepared, unprofessional, and it was a complete waste of time and money,
Yeah.
right? And uh, obviously that would never happen. But like, I'm more afraid of that because there are absolutely no conversations being had about, binders and rubrics and um I think I think at the moment, and obviously this can change, but I think at the moment there's a high level of trust with the individuals who selected and were selected to be apprentices. And it's like if you want to do something, um do it the way you want to do it. Obviously take what you learned and be a good steward. And the bigger issue is going to be what do we do when you go off into the woods and someone breaks their leg? I mean, and granted,
Yeah.
that's maybe more of an insurance thing, but like that's nor here nor there. I mean more like what happens if we log on one day to some platform and there's just people yelling at you, being like, Cam, I want my money back. Like EMP is a scam. Like I think that's the bigger challenge and issue.
Yeah.
It's like making sure um that EMP branding stays with the people who will steward it well and
Yeah.
potentially gets taken away from the people who don't steward it well. Um, and that's going to be just as difficult, right? Because it's like you can go, I'm assuming this might be a Rafe question, but I'm assuming that you could put up a website tonight and get six people in a park on Saturday doing whatever the hell it is that you want them to do. Um, and the question becomes like, when is that EMP branded and when is that CAM branded? Um, and as of right now, like we have the guys in Germany doing a retreat. That's great. We have um, we have Opal and Chuck up in the UK. Like right now, it's everyone is super good.
Yeah.
And it's
Right.
and it's not like there's another class of apprentices gearing up to start. So it's like so yeah. So anyway, not to belabor the point, I'm less worried about binders. I'm more worried about reputational risk. And that's going to have to be like as of right now, like my philosophy. But again, this is a Rafe Kyle Aaron question because this is not I have no jurisdiction here. But like from my point of view, it's like the bigger question is around making sure that um, quality stays above a certain bar. I don't think there's any fears around that, but I mean, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. It might not happen with anyone watching this call. It might happen with a 14th person that joins our, band of crazy people in the next couple of months or years, but it'll happen. Someone will want to do something and it's not going to be kosher and we're going to have to deal with that kind of like a body deals with an infection, right? It's just going to
Yeah.
have to be, it's going to have to be, the organism is going to have to like either
Yeah. So
correct
I
it
really
or
like how you're going. You're shifting into you're shifting. That was a wicked little dance that you did right there, in my view. You started to invoke legalistic terms. There's a like reputational risk to brand. Like those are pretty typical business terms. You talked about insurance a little bit, but then you come back around to the biological. You brought it back to the meat bubble. You said, okay, this is the organism is going to have to contend with it, like an infection. So I think that we've done plenty today in with respect to that natural kid putting dirt in their mouth inoculation. So that's
yeah.
I can just let that one go for now unless you got any closing remarks on that. I think we set up a
No, yeah,
beautiful frame.
yeah, I think any fears around binders, we're nowhere near that, right? Like, could it one day go in that direction? Could. Do I see it going in that direction? No, I don't think anybody wants to create the next hot yoga. I don't think anybody wants to create formalized. I don't think anyone wants it to be that formalized. I don't think anybody has appetite to franchise. It's more of like it feels more like a I'm going to borrow this term from Kyle. It feels more like an intentional digital community or a global intentional community than it does Soul Cycle.
Yeah. Okay. Uh, so I think we've covered off pretty well on the general update. Is there anything more that you want to talk about that you've been up to? Keeping in mind we got about 20 minutes to play here.
No, I think yeah, to tie it all into a bow, it's like things have been progressing in the last month despite my illness. Well, I mean, mostly because it doesn't have anything to do with me. It has to do with many other people marching in concert. Uh, but yeah, the big thing that's happening here, it's like the big questions that are being answered are like, can the big three attract new participants in the ecosystem in a way that feels authentic and avoids burnout? And then how can we then take their learnings and any of the collateral slash capital, and capital here means like email lists because there really isn't any financial capital that can be thrown around, but
Yeah.
there's plenty of other really valuable capital. And so it's like, what can we do with that digital and informational capital to then basically take the the rest of EMP, which the next circle out is the apprentices. How do we take the next circle out, and how do we then push those learnings to them so that they can decide what they want to do with it, and then we can decide what that next circle is. That next circle is unwritten. It's exciting, but I don't even want to speculate what that looks like because it could go in so many different directions. But at the very least, let's like, you know, tidy up the house, then we can go into the neighborhood. Once the
Yeah.
neighborhood and the house are nice and, you know, landscaped and cleaned up a little bit, then we can see what that next circle looks like.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I love how you came back to the tidied up the house metaphor. That's particularly salient for me right now. And then I also wanted to touch quickly on you said it's not about me. I really want you to feel appreciated. like really powerfully. Yes, the you're in something like a conductor role right now, is how it feels to me. And yeah, like in an orchestra scene, it doesn't look like the conductor is doing very much, but it's so critical and it's so subtle. Like a little movement means a lot. Anyway, so that I just really want you to feel that.
I appreciate that.
Um, and then I wanna, so in the remaining time, I'd love to just pause and if there's anything that's coming up for you, because I definitely I've got I'll call it an agenda. Like I've got a very powerful intentionality that I will bring in. I have to be careful every time I feel that. Like one of the biggest lessons for me is to allow a space for something else besides that so that my
Hmm.
ego doesn't just take over.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I feel my goal to get on the phone with you was one, say hi, catch up, see how you're doing. Two, give you that update because I don't have too much more. I mean, I don't have anything else. I could probably answer questions, but like I don't have, there's like nothing else really bubbling up for me as like super salient, especially because we're getting towards the end of the year. People are starting to slow down a little bit. So I think everything's going to start up in earnest in January. Um, so yeah, pick your favorite question that's on your list and ask it.
okay, it's not really a question. I'm gonna shift now into visioning and maybe so far as to solutioning.
Cool.
Um, so I feel enormously privileged right now because I actually feel as though I have room to play in that whole, like anywhere in that funnel.
Hmm.
I've got a little bit of like cash capital, and uh, so that's exciting, and it's like I got a little bit of room to play that way. And then there's also the time. Like I'm also in a spot where I can, like I'm walking this line right now with my corporate gig, where it's feeling like okay, I'm thinking back to when I first started the apprenticeship, and Rafe said it sounds like he was talking to me. I can't. He might have been interviewing me at the very beginning, seeing if it was something that I wanted to do, and he said it sounds like you're looking for an off ramp from the corporate environment. So ever since then, I've kind of been walking that line. It feels like I was like, oh yeah, that's about where I'm at. Um, but what that looks like for me is, realistically, I'm gonna do what'll end up happening almost certainly is I'll move from W-2 employee to like part-time consultant. And then what
Nice.
that does is like there's this big frame all of a sudden on a day-to-day
Yep.
basis.
I love that.
Um, and then the other big piece, and I think you've heard me talk about this before, like I'm getting to play with a gorgeous piece of real estate. Like there's a gorgeous piece of property that I'm very much place based, and I think in the EMP ecosystem today, like it's recognizable somewhat in the frame of what I think it's in the frame of what Sunray did, and I think it's in the frame of what Kyle is presently doing, where it's
Mm.
there's a place, there's a geographic center that over time evolves into um, a very inviting space for intentional activities. I'll leave it that
Hmm.
I'll leave it there for right now. Um, in terms of specifics or not, I'm deliberately being not too specific there for various reasons.
Hmm.
But then I want to come to Mark and Julio.
Mm-hmm.
So you've noticed more than once now, like they're doing a thing. Like they're actually their practice, they're out there doing the thing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and in the what I'm hoping we do in the upcoming call here in January is they're struggling through that first setup, getting the website set up. Like they're going through all of the growing pains. Um, and we want to go through the learnings. I asked them to come in and talk about their learnings.
Oh, cool.
Um, so there's that. And then there's also Julio has told me that he's got availability. I'm trying to get him to come back over here and do a thing in the States.
Nice.
And he's got availability the 11th through the 16th of July. And I asked him
Cool.
what would have to be true, Julio, for you to make that trek to come over here and facilitate because he's so awesome. Like in terms of
Mm-hmm.
quality of experience, he's so good in
Mm-hmm.
a like as an overall facilitator. And I'm just chomping at the bit to get him. And if I can swing it so that he can come play in the spaces that I would like, even better.
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't have to be that. So the so that is a I don't like this term, but I'm going to use it. We got to find a better term than or synonyms or better or allegories to the capital. So I
Mm-hmm.
look at you. I get it. I
Yeah.
understand what
It's
you
a
mean when you
corporate,
talk
it's
about
corporate.
capital.
Yeah. It's financial jargon.
Yeah, and here's where it gets really dicey for me. And I also Kyle told me that you got everybody reading that debt book, which I think is awesome.
Have you read it?
Uh, not all the way through, but I've
Oh, you
read
started
enough
though.
of it. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I
Such
will.
a good book.
Since I heard that, I'll finish it. Um, but yeah,
We'll do a book club.
I'm familiar enough with the aspects of that story from
Yeah.
other experiences. Like I know it, but I picked it back up since I talked to him about it, and I'm like, oh, okay, this is going to be
Yeah.
really
I mean,
helpful to have common language here.
and Graeber was an anthropologist, right? Not a
Yeah,
economist. So he's coming at the money philosophy from tribes and history and not from Keynesian or,
yeah.
like,
He's not coming from the theoretical. He's coming from the.
no,
I would say he's coming from the phenomenological. Uh,
exactly.
anyway, I don't want to get too distracted there. What I want to do though is just I'll just blatantly say it. I'm like Julio's capital. Like that's
Yeah.
human capital right there, which
Yeah.
is you can see why the language is problematic.
Yeah.
Um, but the bringing together that's another thing. Like I'm also very much about just do one thing, please. There,
Hmm.
so of all of the multiplicity of all of the wealth that we see, all of the abundance, all of these things that we could do, pick one.
Yeah.
And I'm really impressed how those Mark and him have done that. Like they're doing one, they're getting it done.
Hmm.
I want to do the same thing in 2026 in the United States of America.
Cool.
Um, but I need help. Like
Yeah.
I don't feel like I'm in a position where like when I look at how I would facilitate in relation, because I've been experimenting, I've been doing those things in the woods that you're talking about, and
Hmm.
getting a handful of people together. And I'm to the point where I'm like, okay, I'm scared because I could get into a situation that actually is dangerous for people, that could actually do real damage, that is
Yep.
potentially irreparable. And
Yeah.
I know that I gotta handle that with kid gloves right now. If I got a Julio, I'm like, no sweat.
Hmm.
Um, okay, so I've said a whole bunch of things. Oh,
I love that.
on the tidying up of the house, that is so that this is speaking to a non-EMP audience right now, but it's
Hmm.
another. I'll just call them part of my audience. That that's really important. Like that works on so many different levels, and there's a literal level to it right now. That's happening with yeah, I'll just say partners right now. Uh, and I want to, I hope we come back to that metaphor. Like that really, really, really works. How you did the concentric things. It's like you get your own house in order. Then you go to the next. You said ring. I would go to spiral lap. Like I really like the imagery of, okay, we have an opening happening over time. It's not this same circle, 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 circle.
Hmm. I love that.
Uh, okay.
So then Cam, um, I have about 10 more minutes. How can I help you make your 2026 idea successful?
I love that question. Uh, so my sense is, how do I say this? My sense is that you have visibility into, like, you have a broader view right now. You have a broader, shallower view of the full or most of the ecosystem, I guess I'll say. And the you used the word trust earlier in our dialogue today, and that is the critical currency. So we're and I believe that you're correct. Like we are in a high trust circumstance right now with a fairly small cohort, and that, like you said, and I've heard Kyle say it. I think 2026 is going to go. It's going to be bananas. Like I think there's going to be a explosion of growth and development and change, which puts that trust at risk because you're playing with new players and you're having to reestablish patterns over and over and over again. That's how I see it anyway. Uh, what am I trying to say? The I have I got a little bit of money. I got a little bit of time. I have a high executive function. I trust you in your view to help just knock down the fundamentals of this place, this date, these people. So on that
Hmm.
third one, the like I've already offered out, like I feel like I got Julio on the line, so to speak. So that left to my own devices, that's where I'm going. Like I'm just gonna reel that one all the way in. I'm gonna expend a whole bunch of my energy focused there. You're in a position where you can say, for example, you could say refocus to Nicholas, for example.
Hmm.
Let that one go and focus here. So I'm focused Washington State. There's a particular place I'd like to do it. There's a couple of different options. Might be a different state, might be a different facilitator than Julio.
Hmm.
Help me find a focus on a place, time, and then person, because that person then to me right now it also feels like, okay, this is the last thing that I'll say and you get the last word. It also feels like we can play uh I've heard Kyle talk about them as like plants or I would call them like sleepers, or you've basically stacked the audience. Like you're bringing together a cohort, but you got some heavy hitters in that cohort, and nobody, you're not
Yeah.
saying that out loud. And
Yeah.
that,
Like you were at return to the source.
yeah. Um, So the point is, I when I ran one beta run of what I had going on last February, there were two people out of, I think there were 10. There were 8 or 10 of us involved, and only two of them were newbies.
Hmm.
And the experience that those two people had was like it blew them away. Like everybody had an amazing experience. Um, but the point is that you mostly had true believers to start with.
Yeah, I love it. So can I give you some homework?
Yep, I'm ready.
So if you can, between now and New Year's, no more than 2 pages. You may already have this. No more than 2 pages, a paragraph or two on what you want it to be. And so that should include like rough location, but like not an address, but like an idea of like what the environment looks like, um, how many days it is, what you'll be doing in those days. Doesn't have to be like a curriculum or an agenda, but like a paragraph explaining what the days will look like. Um, a list of a paragraph on who would participate. Who do you think would like what are the 2 or 3 types of people who would be interested, available, and have the ability to attend? Not names, but just like personas. What you would like to charge. Um, rough number, not going to hold you to it. Um, and then you can add who you would like to co-facilitate this with. Um, that feels uh Julio, this means nothing to do with you, but it feels less important because I'm sure that whatever we put into the soup's going to taste good. So it's like I'm less worried about that. It's more about like who's free and how much are plane tickets and that sort of stuff. But yeah, put and then a paragraph on how you would like to turn that idea into a spreadsheet, or how many people minimum and maximum you think you would want involved, and then a couple sentences on how you can turn this idea into a spreadsheet of individuals who have Venmoed you or whatever, striped you the deposit or whatever, so that you know that they are committed to showing up on that day. Do you have any of that? Not that you should have any of that, but I'm wondering, am I
I
asking
do.
you
I
to
have a
just send me
lot of
something
that.
you already have? Yeah.
I'm gonna have a lot of fun with this little bit of homework.
Yeah. Can you get it down to maximum 2 pages?
Yeah.
It's the real question.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Put all
I
that
can do
in
it.
one place and send it to me. Um, if you could do it by New Year's Day, that'd be awesome. If not, obviously, I'm not your teacher. Um, and I would
I can
love to
do it by
look
New
at it.
Year's. Yeah, I can
Cool.
easily do that.
Yeah. And I promise you that I'll devote some hours to look at it and ask good questions and potentially also give you very specific steps so that your January and February gets you closer to July being successful than not.
Yeah. Beautiful.
How's that sound?
I love it.
Cool, dude.
All right, Johnny. Uh
Pleasure as always.
yeah. Enjoy Austin.
I
And
will.
oh, I forgot to ask if um you ever come to Washington just on a routine basis, or is this out of the way for
Not
you?
not on a routine basis, but if I am on the West Coast, I will absolutely let you know.
Sweet. All right.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot, Johnny. We'll
Later,
talk to you
dude.
soon.
Talk to you soon.
Bye
Bye.
bye.